Hello friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story about shameless neighbors and their stupid requests. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Old neighbor I used to call Captain D-Bag. I had a neighbor a couple of years ago I used to call Captain D-Bag because this guy had a habit of doing things that'd make you shake your head. From fixing his wife's computer and promising to pay me, which I'm still waiting on, to the endless requests to borrow things like I was a rental store, to mooching off my Wi-Fi for 6 months without paying. Here's one event that made me scratch my head for weeks. Here's the cast of characters. CD is Captain D-Bag, Sarah is Captain D-Bag's wife, Laura is Captain D-Bag's sister-in-law, Paul is sister-in-law's boyfriend, and me is me. Of course. I step outside to let my dogs out to relieve themselves, and I hear these dreaded words. CD, hey buddy, what you doing? Me, looking over, seeing CD, Sarah, Laura, and Paul in their backyard sitting in lawn chairs. Letting my dogs out? CD gets up, comes over, and says, you have 3 bedrooms in your house, right? Yeah, she told me she moved in a while back. So, what are you using your other 2 bedrooms for, since you're single? Well, my kids come and visit me every 2 weeks, so they have their own bedrooms set up for when they visit to make them comfortable. Well, we were talking and thought since you have 2 bedrooms that you're not using, that maybe Laura could move in with you. Well, like I said, the bedrooms are actually my kids' rooms for when they visit. Couldn't you just put them together in one room? The arrangement of my house and how I use my bedrooms are not really your choices, and didn't you tell me that she'd moved in with you because she was evicted because she doesn't work or pay bills? Yeah, but we were thinking she could live with you for free because you have 2 rooms you're not using. I am using the rooms for my kids when they visit. You'd have a free room if you moved your kids together in the same room. That's not going to happen. Doesn't she have a boyfriend anyway? I think he might have an issue with her moving in with a single man. Well, we talked to him. It's fine. Turns and yells to Paul, you said you're okay with her moving in with him, right? Paul, yeah, I'm good. As long as he keeps his D in his pants. Classy. CD, turning back to me, see, he's okay with it. And besides, he only spends the night with her a few times a week. Let me get this straight. You want me to upend my kids' stay with me by putting them in one room to allow your sister-in-law who has no job, lays around and drinks all day to live with me for free, and I get the added bonus of her boyfriend spending the night a few times a week? How can I say no to that? So she can move? No, I'm not going to allow her to move in with me. I don't understand. Why not? You have an extra room. I don't have an extra room. The 2 rooms I have are my kids' rooms. We already went over this. He turns and walks away and tells the 3 others, he said he'd think about it. The next 2 weeks were spent with CD and Sarah asking me if I made my decision every day. Sometimes a couple times a day, with my reply every time being, no, she's not moving in with me. Footnote, I still live here. They were foreclosed on about 6 months later. I shed a single tear when they moved. And our second story, Big Boss's Friend's Entitled Son. At my first job at a popular food chain, I was a cashier that was cross-trained on cleaning dining room. A lot of my coworkers and I got along with the exception of one who happened to be the entitled son of the district manager's best friend. Originally, when the boy was hired, he seemed nice and understood everything. Boy, was I wrong. First time he started showing his true colors was the day that I was taking a test for a job. I knew and notified my bosses about the test and told them the test ended at this time and in the city and might run late, so any time after would be good, thinking they'd put me down for off or for dinner rush. They put me down for about an hour after the test. Sure enough, test ran late, and due to the rules, I had to find a cover. I remembered that he was off and quickly texted him, to which he replied he's a high school student, which I understood no problem there, and that he's tired of me asking for shift covers. I never asked before. It was a rare occurrence for me to ask people for changes, and everyone knew it at work. Later, he apologized, saying people had been hounding him for shift changes. It just got worse, and since he had a big boss in his pocket, he was there to stay. Slowly, his attitude changed to show even more. He was asking for changes in schedule and began bossing people around when he had no title to boss us around. For example, he yelled at me on an overwhelmingly busy day when I was brewing coffee every minute and needed to clean something. I asked my boss for an extra body to help, since coffee was an important thing for our business, and he got one of my nice coworkers to help. I just asked him to help with the coffee while I do a quick cleanup that was necessary. All of a sudden, Entitled Boy realized and began lecturing me about stealing somebody he needed and wouldn't listen that my boss was the one that asked him to help, and it was for a few minutes. He wouldn't listen. I was already stressed out due to how busy it was. People saw and overheard him and asked if I was okay, because it actually made me cry a little. On a side note, during all this, we found out after Hurricane Sandy, he attacked a gas attendant for not having his grade of gas for his car. He also decided one day to hound me for a shift change after I told him I promised my parents to take my brother and sister to this market that's only around one weekend a year. He kept saying the toy store is always open. Not a toy store, it's a German Christmas market that only happens for 2 days. He kept it up till I took it. Things like this continued until finally my boss, who was leaving on medical, decided to do us a favor. He fired him after he went off on me for making a mess, making hot chocolate a different way, and fixing a mistake he made with the chocolate and caramel pumps. He did the classic pump switch, putting the wrong pump in the wrong sauce, which caused me to have to ladle the sauce. No cross-contamination could happen by the pumps. The thing I wish, though, is that I saw the firing because it happened after I left work. And our next story. Oh, that's your backyard? Nah, my kids can use it. 2 kids had kept coming into my yard to run around and play. They were about 10 and 12, and my yard was the biggest in the entire block. The first time I told them to leave and not to come back. Second time was the same, although a bit louder. Third time, they came with their mother and father demanding to know why I was kicking their kids out of my own effing yard. I told them because I don't want them there and be responsible if they hurt themselves. I've now given them strict verbal warnings to not return, or I will call the police for trespass. Oh yeah, they came back half an hour later when I went out for a run. I came home, went to the kitchen to grab a drink, and boom, there they were. I was straight onto the phone with police about how 2 unattended kids are trespassing on my yard for the 3rd time after I'd spoken to the parents. Cops came out about 20 minutes later. I didn't confront the kids as I wanted them to be there for the cops, as I also didn't know where they lived. Knocked on the front door and spoke to me. I told them they're still there and I want them gone and the mother spoken to. They spoke to the cops and took them back to their house. I had peace and quiet for about 30 minutes until bang, bang, bang on my door. Yuppers, it was the parents again. They went off their nut at me for calling the police. I reminded them that I warned them I would, and they utterly ignored it, so they got a visit from the police. The cops had apparently told the parents to work it out with me, and that if they were called back for the same reason, then a couple pretty serious charges would be laid. So they demanded I give their kids written permission to play in my yard. LMAO, WTF. After they screamed their lungs at me, they thought I'd just give them permission? I told them to F off and never even step onto my property again. The next day, I finally went to Bunnings, hardware store in Australia, and bought a heavy-duty lock to put on my gate. They were not happy. Once again, kids came around and tried to open the fence but saw it was locked. They screamed, "F you!" and went towards their house. 10 minutes later, just the mother this time and the 2 kids pounded on my door again. I simply opened the door, told them I'm calling the cops, and slammed the door in their faces. And I did call the cops, all the while the mother's basically trying to break down the door. This time they came out faster, about 10 minutes. I later found out they were actually pretty close by, and spotted the 3 of them walking back to their house and told them to come back to my house to talk. One officer talked to me and the other to them. I quoted the incident number from the day before so he could get up to speed and retell my side. As I'm finishing up, the mother screams out to me that I had apparently given them written consent and permission to play in my yard and then locked it just to spite them. Both the police officer and I asked to see the written consent because I knew it didn't exist, but the cops have to follow up on every claim, I guess. Surprisingly, she pulled out a piece of paper that said something to the effect of, "I, the owner of address, do hereby grant kids' names, permission, and consent to freely and openly play in my backyard. I also take full responsibility for their safety while in my yard." It was signed by a signature that didn't even resemble my real one. It'd be like comparing the logos of Starbucks and McDonald's. I burst out laughing and asked her if she really just tried to forge the signature of someone she didn't even know the name of. I could see the cops have a slight look of bewilderment and amazement at the level of this woman's stupidity. They asked if I wanted to press charges for obvious reasons, and I gladly said yes. Court went for only 3 sessions, and the mother was sentenced. I don't remember the exact length, but it was at least 6 years, and this was about 5 years ago, so that crazy woman is not too far away from getting us out. Watch out, guys. And our last short story. Tacky owner won't regularly employ workers, forced to close her bar. In short, the bar owner cried to the journals because she wasn't able to employ anyone for her bar and was forced to close it for lacking staff. An ex-employee came out and said the owner didn't sign any employment contract with them, therefore no insurance nor benefits, was late on payments, and paid around €300 over 6 months. When they confronted the owner, she said she couldn't afford to pay her in time due to family issues and screamed at the employee for how ungrateful they were after teaching them how to do their job. No wonder she isn't able to find replacements, huh? I have to close my bar because no one will work for me. But also, these damn youths don't want to work because they're lazy. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.